Okay, so homework, motion graphs questions. Okay, so I'm going to move through my answers. So I've got the answers. I'm going to put up the mark scheme as well, so you can cross-check that at the same time. So question one, key piece of information that's given is that the initial speed is equal to 0, so it starts from rest, so I would make a note of that, u equals 0. We've got a distance time graph, and we can see that the gradient of this distance time graph is increasing. That tells us that the speed is increasing. Now, use the distance time graph to measure the speed at 4 seconds. So what I've done is I've gone to 4 seconds, I've drawn a tangent at 4 seconds, and I'm going to find the gradient of that tangent, because the gradient of a distance time graph gives us speed. So because it's a curve, a tangent must be drawn at the point of 4 seconds, and the gradient, I've got this point here, the top. I've decided to draw a triangle under this section here. Your triangles will be slightly different. I've gone across, that ends up around about 1 square underneath 25. There are 5 squares between 20 and 25, so each square corresponds to 1, so that's 24. This point goes across to 5, so the rise is 24 minus 5, and that's 19 meters, and the run is 5.1. 1 square here corresponds to 0.1, because from 5 to 6 there are 10 small squares, and if we divide 1 by 10 small squares is 0.1, so each small square is 0.1, and we've got 5.1 here, 2.6 at this point here. If we go down, it's 6 squares from 2. So the run is 5.1, take away 2.6, which is 2.5 seconds. And the gradient, therefore, equals 19 divided by 2.5, which is 7.6 meters per second. Now, what does the mark scheme say? Mark scheme says that the answer is 8 meters per second, and it allows you to go above by 0.5 meters per second and below 0.5 meters per second. So the lower limit is 7.5, the upper limit is 8.5. So I'm within the limit of 7.6 meters per second. Okay, so calculate the acceleration. Acceleration is the change in velocity over time. Final velocity, take away initial velocity divided by time. Now I'm going to choose my final to be 4 seconds. Okay, and the speed at 4 seconds is 7.6. We said the initial speed was 0, and that will allow us to work out acceleration. Now, it says in the first line that acceleration is constant. So that means I could pick any 2 speeds, any 2 tangents. So I could have drawn a tangent here, drawn a tangent here, found the speed here, found the speed here, and then use those speeds and the time in between to work out the acceleration. I would have got the same value, because in the question it says that this graph represents a constant acceleration. So 7.6 minus 0 over 4 gives us an acceleration of 1.9 meters per second squared. The mark scheme says 2.0, so I'm thinking plus or minus 0.1. There is a range, because if there's a range here, there will be a range here as well. Okay, so upper limit 2.1, lower limit 1.9 meters per second.